We're building one of the most extreme of the extreme overclocking rigs today, and it's going to be 2 Titan RTXs underwater blocks, and we're going to put those hooked up to this, and this will have all of the fans disconnected. We used this previously, so we're going to disconnect all those fans and instead dunk this thing in an ice bucket, and we already have a cooler that we used previously for that. We're going to hook that up to a dual DDC pump, small reservoir, and put an EVGA X299 Dark on here with a 9980XE, which with all of that assistance from chilled water and this water block, which is a heat killer block we used in our previous 9980XE overclocking stream, with all of that assistance, we should be able to get it to pretty good clocks. One interesting thing from the previous stream that I don't know if we noticed during the stream, but I was trying to do per core overclocking, and I have a fun note on that for today and how that's actually going to end up better than we thought. The biggest thing is going to be 2 of these underwater and then chilled to see if we can get some new records. Before that, this video is brought to you by Thermal Grizzly and their high-end thermal compounds. Thermal Grizzly makes cryonaut paste for high thermal performance and conductivity without being electrically conductive, so you don't have to worry about shorting components. Cryonaut is particularly good for replacing stock GPU pastes, as cryonaut is a non-curing compound. Learn more at the link in the description below. So here's the interesting thing with the 9980XE from last time. We had it in this board. I don't know if it was a bug or what, but I thought we were running only a couple of the cores at 5.1 for one of the tests, and it ended up we were running all of them at 5.1. So the per core overclocking was not working properly. Might have been a bug in BIOS, not 100% clear on that. But the cool thing is we might actually be able to run 5.1 stable all core on an 18-core CPU. Now, we've had that RIPJAY competition going on for a while now. Jay went to dry ice. We didn't do that. We have the tools to do it, but never did it. And you know, now that we have new hardware, I think to really revive this series, what I'm going to do is see if we can beat Jay's score with just chilled water. And if we can't, then I guess we'll move to dry ice or something. Although from what he was telling me, it's a huge pain, and I would like to avoid it as long as possible. So we're going to see how far we can go with just chilling these things. And first thing we need to do is pick out some water blocks. So we have 2 Titan RTXs. We have the cooler. And I need water blocks. I need the CPU. And then I guess we'll do a shunt mod on the Titan RTXs as well. The one concern is that I don't have VBIOS mods for these, so I don't know, since I'm going to be limited to 120% offset, they might actually be worse performers than 2080 Ti, which would be disappointing. But I have an idea from BuildZoid that involves removing one of the shunt resistors, or both. No, well, maybe both. Remove the shunt resistors and short the contacts directly rather than with liquid metal. So if this doesn't work out well, then we'll go that route next, I guess, and try his shunt resistor mod. But let's start with the water blocks today, and then we'll explore more after that. Here's one. So we have a couple. I have to pick which ones we're using. We have a thermal take one. We have an EK 20, so these will fit. 2080 Ti blocks will fit on the Titan RTX, which is really nice. Okay, so we have to pick which of these to use. We have 2080 Ti, the reference PCB is the same as the Titan RTX reference PCB, which makes things really easy. I'm thinking, stupid RGB everything. Thinking I might like the heat killer, so we'll keep this in mind. Damn, that's a pretty clear winner. There's EK. EK thought they had an issue right around when the 2080 Ti was having all those artifacting defects. And I think it might have just been, that was before everyone kind of figured out it was NVIDIA at fault. So I don't know if EK was ever actually, ooh, that is really, the MOSFETs are extremely far away from the water block on this. So we could put a thick thermal pad in there and it would be fine, but it needs to be like a 2mm thick pad. So not sure if that's the best solution. That's thermal take. Thermal take might be the one with an issue. Let's see how's EK's. Clearance on the VRAM's good. MOSFETs will need a thicker pad. Otherwise, should be okay. That's a good looking block. This is the heat killer. Ooh, that one's super nice. Okay. We're gonna start with the heat killer by water cool. All right. Condensation's not too much of a concern on these as long as there's not airflow. And because this entire system is gonna be underwater, air is not gonna be hitting any of these parts. So probably what I'll do is mount it all, and then I think just stuff paper towel around the outer edges to prevent any air from getting in there. And as long as no air is getting in, then no condensation is going to form on the underside of the block. So that's my hope. I'm hoping that's enough. Probably, well, yeah. This is a full coverage block, so I mean, I could do some coating around the GPU, but I mean, I might as well do the whole board at that point. And I don't feel like coating it in Vaseline because I don't want to clean it off later. So we're just gonna do paper towel around the outer edge, and hopefully that's enough to prevent condensation. The dew point is low enough that, I mean, it is, oh, what are we at? 44% humidity right now, so we should be okay anyway. So I need a good thermal paste, and I need to figure out which shunts go where. Just a multimeter to figure out the shunt resistor paths. So a lot of you have seen this plenty of times at this point. What we're doing is we're doing a resistance check, and we're going to check against the 12 volt line coming in, and then against the leg of the shunt resistor. And we have the mod mat on store.gamersnexus.net. We have some footage of the wiring diagram on there. If you want to buy one, that's what I use to remember where I'm measuring. So this shunt resistor leg right here, 5 milliohm shunt resistor, measures out as no resistance to the 12 volt pin on that PCIe connector. So that one goes there. And because the same PCB as the 2080 Ti, this one should go there. There it is. Okay, cool. That was it. It's just hard to hold it steady. Okay, so the one on the back goes to this one. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just liquid metal on these for now. Do the front one first, mount the water block, and then after that, we'll look into BuildZoid solution later, but the first step is to get this up and running. It's gonna be kind of a pain to disassemble it, but we'll do it this way. I think we're just gonna tape shop towel to the back of it, so no back plate. So mounting without back plate. Okay, so we're gonna do the thermal pads. This is gonna suck. The plastic still has to come off of these. So right now I'm just making sure I know where everything goes. Some of these are 0.5, that's gonna be from memory. They did pre-cut them though, that's nice. This goes there. Then we're missing one. One of their thermal pads either didn't make it into the bag or didn't make it, or is stuck to one of these other ones. There should be one more up here. I can probably cut this one and make it fit though. Fucking plastic. Bastard. Man. Okay, got it. God damn it. Okay, so the good news about this, even though it is a pretty slow process, is that this is covering most of the parts. So in terms of preventing airflow, these thermal pads will do a pretty good job of preventing airflow. which is good because they're just supposed to transfer heat into the block, and we don't want any air getting under the block. This is physically hurting my back. My neck's gonna be all stuck after it like this. Damn. They shorted me a pad. Bastards. All right. Good enough. Good Canuck. So we got all of the pads on. Liquid metal, I guess, is the next step. These are for liquid metal. They don't sell them at Walgreens with Der Bauer's face on them, though. But I think he should get into it. So, like I said, there's a more interesting approach to this than what we're doing, which is Buildzoid's mod. I have to talk to him about it. I haven't yet. Where instead of liquid metal, you'd remove the shunt completely and then solder a little setup in place to short two of the pads that the shunt resistor comes off of. So that's a really good looking approach that 100% removes the power limit. The downside is that it requires physically modding the card, and it also I haven't done it before, so I need to talk to him about that. Maybe if we don't get a VBIOS that will allow us to overpower this card, then I'll probably go that route. If you do too much, it will bug out the card and you'll have to remove it. So that might be kind of bordering on too much. We'll see. Bigger question is, as long as it doesn't drip when it's stood vertically, then we're good. So now nail polish to protect the parts around it. Should have done this first, really, but I was fairly confident, so. Okay, so that's down in between that inductor and the shunt resistor. I put a bunch of nail polish because the inductor has a foot down there, and we don't want that to come into contact with the shunt resistor via liquid metal because that would short stuff out. So we're good there. Biggest concern is still VBIOS, but we're at a point where we can put the water block on the card with some thermal paste. So I'm gonna grab some cryonaut for that. So I'm gonna put a lot on for two reasons. One, doesn't matter, and not contacting a part of the GPU is really bad. You can start killing small parts on it internally. Two, I want this stuff to squish out and fill just around the perimeter on the substrate. I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything, and it will add additional layer of ensuring there's no condensation drip down onto the small caps and things on the substrate. Okay, so what we need to do at this point is, they're being very formal here, referring to me as Z. I appreciate that water cool, thank you, as opposed to the informal do. So legen Sie den Cooler auf die vorbereitete Grafikkarte und drehen Sie anschließend beides zusammen a bunch of other stuff. So basically we're going to screw the screws in. And we have a whole bag of screws. So 15 cylinder head screws. They're M3 by 8s, 2 cylinder heads, M3 by 6, and some washers. It's a heavy water block. I use some serious copper on this. Super dense. That kid from the Verge video was right when he said you need an Allen key, and everyone made fun of him because you only need a Phillips head screwdriver. He was actually right. You do need an Allen key for this. So we have, I think, yes, we are clear. We are clear of the shunt resistor. Come on, man. Why? Why? Just get out of there. You suck. All right. This is some bullshit. Okay. There's the washer. Okay. Oh my God. What a pain in the ass. There it is. It looks really good. Damn. Cool. So I got to make sure there's contact everywhere. And it looks like there is. Yep, we're good to go. Okay. So that's card number 1. And now we need to do liquid metal on that one. I'll do that. I guess I'll do that now before I forget. And then we also need to cover up the backside with blue shop towel. Need to cover up the backside with blue shop towel just to prevent condensation from forming. Okay, nice. There's enough surface tension, it's staying on. Okay, cool. Okay, card number 1 is finished. So we took a break. We're on day 2 now of the build because day 1 was really just, I have to be careful picking these up now, they have liquid metal on them. It was just getting the blocks on the Titan RTXs, and they all say 2080 Ti's, but they're Titan RTXs. And they've got liquid metal on the shunt on the back, which is kind of a precarious position for it to be in, and liquid metal on the one on the front side too. So we've got that handled, have to leave these face down. And then the other one has the water cool block on it. They look pretty good. I don't know, we might have some B-roll shots of them or something, but I'm not really sure which one's gonna perform the best. We're not testing that today, something I'd like to test, but all we really care about right now is cools well. And what we have to do at this point is put together the rest of the system, so motherboard, RAM, CPU, all that stuff. And then the hard part is going to be figuring out how to route the tubes in the most effective way possible while also allowing this giant radiator over here to run down into the ice bucket. So I don't 100% know where to start, but I guess we'll start with the motherboard, the CPU, and the RAM, then start figuring out tube length after that. Step 1, we're gonna go back to this board. This is the EVGAX 299 Dark, and this has served us well, really well. I don't remember what we used for RIP LTT. I want to say it was probably this board as well, but we used this for the later RIPJAY and the RIP LTT too. And as I said in the first part, I don't know if it got edited out or not at this point, but first part of this video, one of the things I said was the Titan RTXs are not that much better than the 2080 Ti's. So I'm not sure if I'm really going to be able to gain any ground against these, against Jay at this point without dry ice, but I really want to avoid it because it's a pain, and I think it'd be cool to best his current score without it by using newer hardware. I need a CPU, so we're gonna go grab a CPU. So we need the 9980XE. We used the 7980XE originally. These are all the S-class CPUs. That's what Intel calls their desktop CPUs, their S series. So that's what all of those are. And then what we need is an X-HEDT CPU. We have the 7980XE, which is done so well that it's become a bit of a meme in our live streams. Then the 9980XE, which is still soldered, and I'm not going to delit it because it's very risky. So we're going to use this for the CPU. So first thing we're going to do is actually take the RAM out, and I'll talk you through what we're doing here. So one of the biggest things that you're not going to be used to, most likely, is preparing for condensation, which is why I'm unbuilding part of this. So we are going to put some blue shop towel down around the CPU socket area. And condensation is really only going to form when the the cooling solution is lower than ambient temperature, and there's airflow over things that can form condensation, like tubes, for example. And so we're going to have the block is a potential risk. Everything around the socket where the block overhangs part of the motherboard, that's a potential risk for drippage from the block. And then we'll limit airflow. And the best way to limit airflow is to eliminate fans. And then after that, the next best thing to do is to stuff paper towels everywhere. So I'm going to keep these fans on the VRM. It's probably not going to need it because since we're using chilled water for everything through this setup over here, this is all going to be dunked in ice. We'll have some condensation forming on the tubes, but these will be wrapped with blue shop towel as well. And because this part for the CPU will be below ambient, it's also going to sort of naturally cool the rest of the board around it, and that includes a bit of the VRM because if you think about it, everything's connected by copper traces inside the board. Copper is a conductor of heat, and it's going to help us sort of keep everything surrounding the CPU sub-ambient, including parts of the VRM, which we've seen with the video cards. So I need shop towel. So first thing we need is an anti-static wrist strap that's not connected to anything. We learned this from The Verge. You may have seen their PC build. And actually, if you wear a Livestrong bracelet, it's preferable. But this is the best we have. So we're going to need one of those just to make sure we wirelessly into the cosmos ground ourselves, because that is, in fact, how it works. Then we're going to need a lot of shop towel. And I think what I'm going to do is put the mounting screws in there and then kind of just cut around it, like an arts and crafts project or something. All right, so what I'm going to do is just kind of socket these loosely, just so I don't accidentally cover over the screw holes, and then we'll start cutting around it. And this is going to be easier, as I learned this last time, easier to do it before mounting the block, because otherwise you're like shoving shop towel in around the corners. And the CPU is socketed so that, I can apply force wherever I want and I'm not going to bend any pins. Then we just need to cut a hole there, and what we'll do is probably do something like this around the whole perimeter, leaving exposed only the slots where stuff needs to go. Something like this should work pretty nicely. And you know, while I'm at it, I think I'm going to prepare this for dry ice as well, just in case going with chilled water is not enough. So in order to do that, we're going to grab some artist eraser, some kneadable eraser, and spread that around too, just to give us 2 layers of protection. Here's my bin of XOC materials. I don't have too many, but we're going to prepare a bit for dry ice with the LN2 pots, although I'm starting with chilled water. And this stuff is great for that. This is just like Faber-Castell kneadable eraser, and it is not electrically conductive. It won't hurt the components, won't short them, but it will help prevent air from touching them. Der Bauer and others will use Vaseline, and then he takes the board and puts it in a dishwasher. And I would rather not get it that messy. This stuff it sucks, but it's easy to remove, and it doesn't require a dishwasher, so we're good there. This is from Kingpin. I bought it from him. I don't think we're going to use this today, but this is just foam for further condensation prevention. It's kind of overkill for what we're doing right now. We have like these foam sort of cutouts from EK, and I don't know. Oh, that's pretty nice. Wow. I was going to say, I don't know if they're cut to size, but these are actually cut to size. Where we might want some protection is on the back as well. I don't know where they actually intend to use this. I haven't used these before, so I don't know if it actually goes here or just on the back. We have socket heaters and stuff like that too, but we're not going to need that today. So yeah, I need kneadable eraser on the back and shop towel everywhere. So let's just throw one of these in there, even though I'm not really 100% positive that's where it belongs. And then we'll throw some of this in there. I have this stuff too. This is more for the back side of the, like these will, they fit these? Oh yeah. They cut some of these to size for GPUs for us actually. So we can put that, we have some Allen-2 pots for the GPUs as well. But let's start with the eraser. This is gonna take a while, so we'll probably just time lapse it or something. Okay, that's the top. We're gonna do the back as well, because if any air gets under the board when it's on the bench, it can definitely form condensation on the back of the socket, because the back of the socket's gonna be below ambient. And depending on if we're using dry ice or just chilled water, the severity of the condensation that can form will vary, but definitely we're below ambient here, and we've got a big metal plate on it, so I'm gonna cover that up as well. And then we'll stuff towel around the outside edges of the board on the bench just to prevent anything from any air from blowing under there. Did something rare when I set this up and was smart, sort of. Hooked this up to QDCs, so inhibits flow a bit, but I'll be able to just install the block without having to worry about the rest of the tubing length. So that'll let me continue to do the insulation in the meantime. There's one. So these are all just EK quick disconnects with the water cool block, and now I just need to let's get some thermal paste on there with it. So we're going to use Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. A lot of it, it'll just squish out, that's fine. So here's the setup. Put the eraser on the underside, and then shop towels going all around everything that's metal, and also anything that, well, yeah, everything that's metal, anything we don't want exposed to air. And I will do a bunch of insulation on top of the block as well, because that's going to get condensation. And you have to be careful of a few things, like not ripping off capacitors, for example, with the eraser. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Thermally, all this stuff will actually be fine, because even though it's completely smothered and no air can get to it, all these parts are on the same PCB ultimately as the chilled CPU and socket. So that's going to, if you had liquid nitrogen, or if you look at a liquid nitrogen setup, you'll see that it freezes up all around the area that's actually under the liquid nitrogen. Same thing applies here to a much less extreme degree. Anything that's connected to the chilled water or the dry ice, like cooled components, will end up colder just by being connected. So VRM will be fine. All those small caps will be fine. They're all going to be below ambient or at ambient, worst case scenario. So we're good there. Now I just need to make sure no air gets anywhere close to the socket. And the most air is going to be coming out of here. So we're going to kind of block that off. We potentially even turn those off during testing if everything else is cold enough. Buildzoid told me how to do it all. He made a video for me of him insulating some stuff. It took him like 15 minutes, maybe 20. And he was like, okay, done. Here's the video of how to do it. And he's like an origami expert, basically. He used 2 pieces of shop towel, and he like folded them in some weird ways. Like Buildzoid's like a magician with this. He had it all done, 15, 20 minutes, full coverage, and 2 pieces of shop towel and like 4 pieces of tape. And then I did mine, and it was like 90% tape. And I sent it to him, and he was like, well, that'll work. Okay, so we're going to stop here for day 2. Pretty good amount of progress so far, though. What we've done is basically set it up so it's all ready to go. So this is semi-modular. Did the insulation in a way that when it's time to go dry ice or something, all I have to do is pull off the top layer of the block and the blue shop towel, and then drop on Der Bauer's Beast LN2 pot that he sent us. So that's easy to do. And I think the goal here, the biggest thing to remember is that as long as there's no airflow, there's no condensation. So don't let air hit anything around the block, and we're good. And this will prevent that from happening. So that should prevent condensation concerns. I think we also won't need any fans on the bench, unlike last time, because last time I didn't really fully understand just how powerful using chilled water is, because as we sort of got it in use, we realized that, oh, actually having, the last time it was a 2080 Ti, having a 2080 Ti under chilled water gets the VRM also down to sub-ambient by about 1 or 2 degrees. So there's no reason to have VRM cooling, because it's in like the 20s and 30s Celsius. So that's pretty cool, and we can eliminate all the fans on the bench, which means that it helps reduce concerns of condensation. That was the biggest stress I had last time. Still a risk, but yeah, as we do this more, I think the concern of that risk will go down as we kind of learn what causes condensation and where it typically forms. Still need to put some shop towel on the back. I'm going to wait till the very end for that, and wait till we do the tube routing, which will be the next part. So that's where we are now. We have 2 well-built Titan RTX cards with water blocks that are full coverage. We have the setup for the motherboard for the CPU socket with the Heat Killer 4, amazing block last time we did the test. We've got the Mora 3 radiator. We're going to remove the fans from that, dunk it in the 78 quart cooler we have, and route all the tubes. So that's the next big step. Finish insulation, fill it with ice and maybe some salt, and we'll be good to go for some overclocking live streams with these and see if we can achieve any new scores. We'll beat our old score. I don't know if we'll beat Jay's current score because he used dry ice, but because they're Titan RTXs, we'll have a slight native advantage, and Firestrike and Time Spy are all about GPU score. So even if we get just like an extra 200 points GPU score, which is low, I think that will calculate us to be over Jay's current standing, because most of his score is CPU points. So if we go heavy on GPU, we should be good. Plus 9980 XE. So it's a bit of like getting ahead through arms racing by upgrading the hardware. And Jay has all this hardware as well, so it's only a matter of time that we're forced to rethink the strategy. But that's part 1 and 2 smashed into one video. And check back soon. We'll have the tube routing and the rest of this insane build log, because that's basically what this is at this point. You're watching the building of the most extreme overclocking rig we've done yet. So check back for that. Subscribe for more. As always, you can go to store.gamersnexus.net to pick up one of our shirts, the ones that are still in stock. We're restocking a lot of stuff right now. Mugs are coming in as well. Or patreon.com/gamersnexus helps out there as well. And subscribe for more. As I said, I'll see you all next time.